Hello, hello, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. In fact, I would love to know where you are streaming in from, and I'd love you to just say hello to me and let me know that there's some people out here and that I am actually live and this is all working. So I'm really delighted to be here and to spend the next 5 days working with you on the Dare to Thrive challenge. So first of all, I'm going to introduce myself, and this is actually streaming to my Facebook page and also YouTube. So, and as well as the free Thriving Facilitators Facebook group. So if you are coming in from YouTube or the Facebook page, I'd love to invite you to come into the free group and you can sign up for the challenge and you can meet the amazing huge group of people that are in here from all over the world. So while I'm introducing myself, I would love to know where you're from and what it is you do, and that really helps me to be talking to humans rather than just a camera here in my little studio. Okay, so my name's Sheila Preston, and until about 2 years ago, I worked for 24 years in higher education as a lecturer in various educational institutions. I was also, in the last 6 years, a head of department in a London university. And throughout that, I was also a facilitator and worked in community and educational settings when I wasn't working in the university. And I also, importantly, supported hundreds of students who were also developing work in community and educational settings throughout my time. I've written various publications about those experiences. I wrote with Tim the first edition of the Applied Theatre Reader. I developed a series in applied theatre with Michael Balfour, and I wrote a book on facilitation as part of that. So that's a kind of broad, yeah. So 2 years ago, that's my past now. 2 years ago, I left higher education, and now I'm a coach, and I'm also training for a qualification in supervision. So I offer supervision and reflective practice sessions for frontline advocates who work in legal charities and various organisations frontline with supporting communities in very difficult, challenging settings. I also work one-to-one as a coach and supervisor. I founded Thriving Facilitators 1 year ago as a low-cost provision for artists and practitioners to receive support and supervision and a community, and to create a community network. And I'll be talking a lot about that over the next couple of days. So let's see who's here. So we've got, hello, Ed. I'm just going to put your names up as you come through so you can get a sense of who's here. Ed, Henry, hello. Drama student from Cambridge, hello. Hi, Varshini, great to see you. So Varsh is part of the membership. Hello, someone in Somerset. So you have to click the button to let StreamYard know who you are. And it's, yeah. And Radu, hello. Hi, Radu, good to see you again. And Ellie from Citizens Theatre Glasgow, lovely to see you too. Great, well, thank you so much for coming. And I'd love to get some participation from you as we go through, and I will try my best to keep an eye on that as well as we go through. So, yeah, what I'd like to say now is I'd really like to invite you to approach how I'm going to work with you this week and now from a different place to your intellect. So often as academics and as people who have come out of those areas, we're very used to using our very cognitive, intellectual brain to try and process, critique, take stands on, and all of that stuff. And sometimes that can be a defense and a way, you know, it provides us with a lens, but it's, I'm inviting you to kind of put that aside for the moment, to just try and access some of what I'm sharing from a deeper place. You can put your intellect on later. So yeah, I'm trying to sort of find ways in which we can connect with our wisdom. And that is something that, things that we know that are kind of deeper than our kind of intellectual brain, and also beyond the words. So for the moment, just put aside any previous stories you told yourself about this and that, or, you know, just be aware when that happens and just sort of put that to the pocket for a moment, and look at what feels true for you. And yeah, just be here with me right now. I'd love to hear your insights as you experience this week. And yeah, look beyond what I'm saying, because these are just my thoughts, but I'm hoping that something will just sort of resonate for you underneath that. So some of this is really simple. It's something that you already know, and but often we dismiss what is simple to find the more complex, and I certainly know that I am a culprit there. So I'd like to return to what you already know deep inside. So I'll just tell you a little bit about the challenge. So Dare to Thrive, how to show up with presence and connection, in brackets, even when it feels impossible. Why have I done that? I've created that because I know that these are the challenges that practitioners face when they're working in incredibly difficult settings. So who is this for? It's for artists who work in social settings, people who work in the helping professions, lecturers, social workers, people who work in all sorts of settings that are often less organised or fraught with all sorts of challenges. So this I'm aiming that at you. I'm going to be working with you for between 20 and 30 minutes each day. And if you sign up on the Facebook page in the group, you'll be able to get a workbook with some reflective exercises as we go through. And so that's why I'm calling it a challenge, really. I really want to challenge you to just, see what speaks to you on this, and in the hope that this might take you a little step further towards thriving than you may have been before. So how to begin? Do you know what? I'm going to share what's going on for me right now. So at this moment, my nervous system is on high alert. My heart is beating really fast. I'm actually sweating. I'm feeling really anxious. My mouth is dry. I'm feeling quite a level of stress at this moment. And so I'm in survival mode. That's what my body is cued to tell me that I'm in survival mode. It's gearing me up to deal with some threat that might be around me. But of course, there isn't any threat here. There's just a camera and hundreds of people watching. So I'm not actually in physical danger, but my thinking and my thought process and my previous habits and of being in these situations before are telling me that I'm in some sort of dangerous situation, but I'm not. Okay. So what I think is really useful here in that to know is, so for me, that's really useful to know. And that's not something that I would have been aware of previously. So that's something about my transformative journey that I've been on in the last couple of years. So I think one of the really key things that I'm helping people with is really supporting them to move out of reactive mode into a more conscious mode. So moving from a reactive facilitator who's kind of coping to a conscious facilitator. So what do I hope to achieve for you over this week? Lots of people here. Hello. Oh, I'm just going to click a few more people. Oh, thank you, Vash. Brilliant. Okay. So yeah, what do I want you to unlock more of what could be possible for you when you are really really thriving, rather than settling in survival mode. I want you to realize there's more than survival mode. I know that you already know that, because there'll be times when you're not in that, and there are times when you are in that. But many of us are in survival mode and we're not even aware we're in it. And I feel that I spent many, many years in operating from that place without awareness of that. So I just want to hold that belief with you that it is possible. There's so much more possible when we're in a thriving state. And I want to kind of demonstrate how our heart-centeredness holds the key to moving us out of survival mode when things are challenging and into compassion and connection. And that's day 3. We're going to also explore on day 4 the thing that gets in the way, which is when we argue with reality. And we're going to explore what's really going on when we get reactive and when we get into a drama. On the last day, I'm going to challenge you to explore whether you're walking your walk. So feeling that you're working in integrity is absolutely key here, as is realizing that your purpose is something bigger than just you. So we'll be looking at the gap about how we want things to be and how things are at the time. So all of that is a taster of some of the ways in which we're working within the Thriving Facilitators membership. And tomorrow I'm going to be giving you an inside view. I'm going to bring some members on into this live stream and be showing you what the membership looks like. And I'd love to invite you to consider Thriving Facilitators as a program of support and growth for you, if that's right for you. Just so that you know that the membership is open today, and there's a special ICAF rate for the next couple of days. So if you want to sign up and jump in on that, then you are extremely welcome. So let's get started. So imagine what could be possible for you if you were really thriving, like really thriving, not just a bit, not just coping and getting through, but really, really in your element, at ease, whatever circumstances you find yourself in. What could be possible for you? Now, I'd really love to hear some of your initial thoughts in the chat here, because that, again, helps me to have a sense of a conversation. But yeah, I'd love to know, what would thriving, what could it look like for you? So I want you to really think expansively, go beyond where you are now and what you're juggling and managing, and really think about what could be possible for you. Really think big. And if you feel brave enough, please share in the comments some of your ideas, because that will really help other people to get going. So lots of links going on there. Thank you, Vash. What could be possible for you if you are really thriving? And the second question, while I'm waiting for some comments there, is I wonder what gets in the way for you when you're not thriving. So what does it look like when you're not thriving? And so often practitioners who work with me say they feel overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, or doubtful about their practice. They worry that they're going to be hurt or damaged by their experience and by what they're having to take on with their participants. They worry by proxy for their participants. And when they're in that state, they're in survival mode. But they know that being in that survival state is compromising their capacity to show up in the way that they desire. And the way they desire to show up is with calm and compassion and presence and authenticity. As heart-centered practitioners, that is really key. And they know that it's not possible to maintain a practice, or rather, not that it's not possible, it's more difficult, it's more hard work to maintain that kind of practice that involves ease and flow if we are in a chronic sense of survival mode. We know that our key values of connection, heart-centered presence, all of that is not sustainable for us when we're easily obtained when we're in survival mode, because when we're in survival mode, our nervous system is going into that state of fight, flight, or freeze, and so it becomes really difficult to listen and to be in presence with people when we are kind of hijacked in that way by our nervous system. And if we're not in actual danger, so there is no saber-toothed tiger, I don't think so anyway, running up the garden to get me at this moment. Often the effect of fight, flight, freeze is an internal one. So that can lead to feelings of overwhelm and disillusionment, loss of hope, self-doubt, cynicism and anger, stress, disconnection, isolation, leaving the profession, exhaustion. And I think, now those are kind of quite extreme examples, but I think that we've all got used to living in a level of that. And I know that the circumstances that we're all living in across the whole world at the moment has kind of heightened and sharpened that feeling of having to live in uncertainty and things being changed around us without us having control over that. So we crave certainty and control, but we seem to only experience uncertainty and not being able to control our experience. So just going back to the context of practitioners, many practitioners are feeling the pressure to work in and engage in sacrificial behaviour, either coming from themselves or mirrored through the system that they're working in. And this sense of kind of bracing ourselves to do what it takes, it's very much part of a feature of some of the charity settings where I'm working, this idea to go above and beyond, no matter what the cost, or this idea of just get on with it, mental toughness, grit, all of that kind of thing. All of that is kind of really bracing. That's not practicing with ease and flow and compassion. That's kind of managing and just getting by. So and also practitioners who are working frontline, experiencing that, they may feel distressed about their experience, and then they're worrying about compassion fatigue, or are they going to burn out, or are they going to experience moral distress or vicarious trauma? They've heard of this and they're worried about that as well. So that creates yet another layer of stress. So firstly, what I do want to say, and I meant to say this at the beginning when I was going to say this at the beginning when I was talking about the reaction that my nervous system's having on me, is that survival mode is an important function. So it's not to say it's bad. It's actually our body's working really well for us. And for me, that really transformed the way that I saw my physical reactions. But our bodies are designed to be activated every 2 or 3 days, rather than being in that chronic state of flight, freeze. So yeah, so have we got any comments about kind of what does thriving look for, what could be possible for you when you're thriving, or what gets in the way of you thriving? So the other thing that I wanted to kind of raise is that often we think that our circumstances are the cause of our stress, and there's a tendency for us to say this all the time: I'd be thriving if not for COVID. I'd be thriving if it wasn't for my boss, or this circumstance or that circumstance. And I'd love you to consider, and there's been a lot of work, lots of research where people have talked about how they've thrived even in terribly adverse situations. So I'd love you to consider that there's a difference between difficult circumstances and knowing that, and knowing that despite that, what is happening out there, that you can thrive and be okay. You might be uncomfortable, life might be difficult, but you fundamentally are okay. So I'd like to pause for a second and to go a little deeper inside, just for you to kind of just take a moment to hear that, and for you to ask yourself, when did you last feel peace of mind, or confident, clear-headed, creative, or at ease? Maybe it was this morning when you went for a walk, or maybe it was last night, or maybe now in this moment. So what I'm sharing here is that there are many spaces where, even in the most difficult situations, so even for me right now, we can be surprised at our well-being. And I'm sharing that because I want you to know that you have that capacity. That is also part of your nervous system trying to bring you back to balance. So you may have sometimes been really surprised. You've been going through a really difficult time, and then suddenly you're feeling clear and calm, and your mind goes to something pleasant, and that is your brain trying to bring you back to balance. And we often dismiss those things and we don't listen to them. So what I'm hinting here is that we have this capacity right inside of us right now, and it's showing all the time, and that if we listen, we will glimpse it. But often we have the noise of insecure and anxious thinking clouding that wisdom, and we still somehow manage, but it gets a lot harder. Okay, so I've got some lovely comments here, recognizing a lot of the things that you're saying, and not just about myself as a facilitator, but in the context and the work that I've been working in. Some quick thoughts: to be able to get really connected to the communities with whom you're working with, and to find the resources which are indispensable to make things that are almost feel difficult, to make them possible. Thank you. Sitting around the fire with friends is thriving, and having to deal with conflict in the room is not thriving. Thank you. But are there moments where you have had to deal with difficult situations and you have felt a sense of thriving? Or what does it mean when we feel, are we equating thriving with feeling uncomfortable? So these are just questions. These are not judgments, they're just questions. Finding my child, playful, loving, creative self. Yeah, lovely. So those are your moments when you're in your element. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. So so for our work directly, so thriving isn't, so the other point I want to make is that thriving is not just a self-development project, that self-care is absolutely key here, but it's directly linked, its impact will directly link to our work with community. So having a deep sense of thriving is crucial. So when we know we are really thriving as practitioners, we're able to hold a calm space for others, and from that calm, grounded space, we're able to enable others to settle. So when we're in a settled state, we're able to form that kind of connection through, and we're able to. So we were talking about mirror neurons earlier. So that we're actually able to model that for our participants, who can also sense and respond to our calmness. And so what we're doing is we're co-regulating with each other. So when we're regulated, our ability to sense and be responsive to others becomes much clearer and less clouded by our own turmoil. So it's more than self-development. It goes beyond the self. It starts there, but it embodies self-care, but it also impacts into facilitation practice and our social impact. It's relational, and it's part of something that's bigger than us. And that's a really big theme in all of this, that when we are in survival mode, we contract and we think it's just us. And that's our design. That's why we're doing that, to get ourselves out of danger. But actually, when we can connect ourselves as a bigger part of common humanity, then then we're starting to thrive. So so personally, my personal kind of way into this is that I realized for probably most of my career, I wasn't thriving. I was in survival mode a lot of the time, not all of the time. And my point is, we're not in survival mode all the time, but I was anxious, I was exhausted, fearful, overwhelmed, doubtful. I secretly thought I was a little bit broken. I was on antidepressants. I had anxiety. So the little bit broken bit was because I was on antidepressants, I guess, and I kind of internalized this idea that there wasn't something quite right with me, because also it was just me, because other people who were having the same experiences as me would be better than me. That was my thought process. And it wasn't that stopped me from showing up with empathy. In fact, I probably had too much of it. I am a sensitive person, and I'm sure lots of artists and other people out here are sensitive as well. And I almost felt too empathic at times, and I would take on a lot of what I was sensing. So going back to that difficult, challenging settings in a workshop, I would tend to go to blame myself, and I would think that there was something that I was doing wrong, or I would feel so uncomfortable that I would manage it, I would do it, but I would feel it would cost a lot to me. Being in a competitive academic environment, I found really challenging. I was parenting my son with special needs, and I had some very scary health moments. I was a head of department dealing with 32 staff, growing department, being asked to slash budgets, very stressful. But I believed my thinking and my feeling was telling me the truth about my situation. So although those circumstances were happening, what I know now is that those circumstances themselves were not the cause of my stress and anxiety. So the other thing that's crucial is I believed that my thinking and my feeling was telling me the truth about my situation. So and because of that, I felt shame, and I didn't share that much with people. And often when we're in survival mode, we can become a control freak. We forget that we're connected to anything bigger. We're trying to fix a problem. We get very tunnel vision, and we're trying to kind of get our head down and sort it out. And then I left my work, and I came across a coach and mentor called Jamie Smart, who was talking about the 3 principles approach to understanding our human experience. And then I went further, and I came across Michael Neal, Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie, and they were all saying some very similar things. And alongside that, and which I'm going to share with you, alongside that, I've also had coaching and supervision, and that having someone to, again, mirror back to me and to reflect back to me some of my experiences, and to really help me to explore what was going on for me, has been absolutely transformative. So some of the these are some of the things that I kind of learnt. So the first one was that we, as humans, we're built for reality. That the world has always been dangerous, and humans have always existed in dangerous times, and that our bodies are an intelligent system that is designed to deal with difficulty, challenge, and discomfort. And now that is really hard for us to deal with. At times that we don't like this idea of being uncomfortable, and then we immediately go to thinking that there's something wrong, or there's a reason why we don't like something or other. So just being able to sit in that discomfort and to know that I'm okay was a game changer for me. The second point is that we have everything we need inside us already. So the idea is that nothing about you is wrong, and everything about you is okay. And actually we have by design the capacity for resourcefulness, peace, and the ability to know what to do. In fact, that's the other side of our nervous system, this ability to connect with others and to rest and restore ourselves. So that's why our bodies are always trying to bring us back to balance. The other thing I learned was I'm not broken. Now, these sound like quite strong statements, and you'll be going, yeah, I know that. But actually, often we internalize some of that thinking, and it shows up in just little ways in the nuances of life. So this idea that I have anxiety is like, or I am anxious, it's like it became part of an identity. And when we see ourselves a little bit broken, we're not really seeing ourselves as whole. And it's so crucial that we see ourselves as whole. Well, this is what I feel, and also that our clients and our participants are whole human beings. And that really relates to when we feel distress at someone else's distress. That if we only see others through our own lens and through our own distress, then we are actually limiting we're limiting what we're seeing in front of us. That people that are experiencing adverse situations are whole human beings, and they, like us, experience the ups and downs of life. So there's so much more to say that I'm saying in such a short space of time, but I hope some of this might be resonating in some way. And then the crucial point that I learned, and this was probably the first thing that I learned, was that our experience is it's created from the inside out. Something happens out there, and then it flows through us, and it flows through us, through our bodies, and into our heads, through our thought. And the stories that we tell ourselves, and the beliefs that we've created, and the judgments we make about ourselves, all come through our thinking brain and our minds. And for me, and a lot of thought, we have 60,000 thoughts a minute, or I can't remember exactly what the thing is. A lot of thoughts that we have are just not about, we're just having those thoughts flowing through us all the time, and they're not personal. And what we do is we attach onto certain thoughts. And I really thought my thoughts were me. I wore my thoughts like an identity. I believed my feelings were true and telling me the truth. And this, for me, created a lot of suffering. So for me, realizing that thought is impersonal, that I have wisdom, but the wisdom sits underneath those layers of habitual thought, was such a game changer for me. The realizing that I couldn't read into the future, that my anxiety was making up something about a future event, was such a game changer for me. So the final point that is key is that now, this idea of the present moment. So really, now is all there is. And I think Byron Katie says this. And as human beings, we are designed to be in the now. We're not designed to be in the future or the past. And actually, this idea that we can actually show up in the space of now and be okay is a complete game changer. So it invites us to really slow down and discover what we already have. So I'm just going to put some of these comments up as I'm talking, because there's some really nice comments from people. So Thriving Facilitators is aimed at helping people to move out of survival mode through an embodied conscious awareness of thriving. And it's always doing that in a relational way, as I said. It doesn't purely look at the self, but it considers facilitation practice as part and then impact as part of that growth journey. So it's aiming to do three things. It's unlocking your resilience, so supporting practitioners to take care of themselves, sometimes against the backdrop of circumstances that are very, very challenging, realizing your well-being within that, and crucially overcoming overwhelm, doubt and isolation. Those are the kryptonite that I've seen as being the kind of the challenge for facilitators. And really understanding that the key thing that sits behind that is fear. And although there are plenty of things to be fearful about, we don't need to fear our capacity. We are designed for this. The second one is about being present and showing up. So presence and feeling in integrity is important. Encouraging yourself to lean into your instinct and show up authentically as a heart-centered practitioner leads you to compassion. And I'll be going into that in day 3. Connection, being connected to a community network by seeing ourselves and our experiences connected to others. Again, as I said earlier, that's key to getting ourselves out of survival mode, but also to understand that, to lean into that more in our work in communities. So for me, I know that as soon as I start to connect with people, I start to relax because I start to form that human connection and mirroring that happens as a result of that. So the membership models these through the provision of opportunities to come together through workshops, open sessions, and then there's dedicated sessions for supervision. And there's also a development path, which I'm going to give you a little glimpse into now. So I'd love to know what you're making of what I'm saying. What do you make of what I'm saying? Is some of it kind of speaking to you? Again, kind of listening beyond the words. What I'd love you to do now, so I've created a quiz and it's on my website, www.sheilapreston.com, and I'd love to offer you to take it. So it's basically giving an insight into the Thriving Facilitators roadmap that I've developed for within the membership, and if you take the quiz, it will give you an idea about where you might place yourself on that roadmap. So it starts with survive, it goes to unlock, then it moves to connect, challenge and thrive. I'll go into that more in detail, but if you want to have a look at it, if you do the quiz, you'll get an insight into where you apparently might be. It's not an exact science, it's just giving you an idea of some steps. And then you'll also get access to the whole roadmap, the whole roadmap. So have a look at that and see what you think. When you're in the membership, you get more detailed milestones as well to support. So that is a tool that I've created to really support practitioners' reflective journey as they go through their own. And everybody's different. Everybody's at a different point on that. So take the quiz. Join the challenge if you haven't done already, because I'll be sending out reflective tasks for each day. And your task today is to reflect. When do you feel in survival mode, and when do you feel like you are thriving, and what could be possible for you when you are thriving? So yeah, have a deeper kind of reflect on that, because it's really important to get as expansive as possible. So tomorrow I look forward to speaking to you and sharing with you Thriving Facilitators, and I'm working with you this week. So thanks for listening, and thank you for your thoughts, and I will see you again. Please do, if you're watching this on the replay, do put your comments and thoughts in, and I will respond to all of them. And so yeah, it'd be really lovely to get some sense of community going here over the week. Okay, take care for now. I've got to find my way to end the broadcast. Bye.